Today, we're diving into the work of one of the 20th century's most powerful thinkers, Hannah Arendt. We're going to get to grips with her investigation into a really tough question. How did anti-Semitism shift from being a social prejudice to becoming a political ideology that could literally rip a continent apart? We're going to trace her arguments step by step.
Arendt kicks things off with what she calls an outrage to common sense. And it really is. I mean, think about it. How could the so-called Jewish question, an issue about a pretty small and politically marginal group, somehow become the trigger, the catalytic agent for a world war and the absolute horror of the death factories? This massive gap between the supposed cause and the actual effect, that's the puzzle she's trying to solve.
Now, it's crucial to understand what Arendt means by comprehension. It's not about finding excuses or making things simple. As she puts it, comprehension does not mean denying the outrageous. It means, rather, examining and bearing consciously the burden which our century has placed on us. For her, it's about looking reality square in the face, no matter how awful, and thinking through it without flinching.
All right, so here's our roadmap for digging into her argument. We'll start with that outrage to common sense, and then see why she thought simple scapegoat theories just don't work. We'll look at the birth of what she called political anti-Semitism, see how the breakdown of the nation-state gave it room to grow, and then check out the Dreyfus affair as a kind of dress rehearsal for disaster. And we'll wrap up with her chilling warning about the danger of people becoming superfluous.
So, first up, this outrage to common sense. Arendt really insists that we have to confront the sheer imbalance between the reasons people gave for hating Jews and the catastrophic result. There's a huge gap, a chasm really, between old-fashioned Jew hatred and the systematic factory-like extermination of the Holocaust.
And because that gap is so huge, Arendt knew that the easy answers people often reach for were totally inadequate, even dangerous. She argued that if we're ever going to truly understand what happened, we have to first take apart the simple, misleading explanations that actually hide what made this horror so new and so modern.
Arendt targets two theories that she sees as intellectually lazy. First, there's the scapegoat theory. You know the one. It says the victim is innocent and just chosen at random. But Arendt found that unsatisfying. It completely ignores history, it doesn't explain why this group was targeted, and it sort of erases their actual role in the world. Then there's the eternal anti-Semitism theory, which just says that hating Jews is a constant, unchanging fact of life. She warns that this idea is even more dangerous because it starts to normalize the horror and lets the actual perpetrators off the hook for their very specific modern crimes.
Okay, so if those easy answers fail, what's her alternative? Well, this takes us to the very heart of her argument, the rise of political anti-Semitism as a uniquely modern ideology.
Arendt maps out this crucial shift. You start, for centuries, with religious Jew hatred and social prejudice. That was old, familiar. But then the modern nation-state changes the game. Jews get legal equality, but they're still seen as a separate international group. And because they were often involved in finance, they became linked to the state, but not really part of the nation. This weird in-between status opened the door for step 3, political anti-Semitism. And this new thing wasn't about religion, it was secular. It didn't attack Jews for their beliefs, but as a symbol of some vague international power that was supposedly rotting the nation from within.
So let's be crystal clear on this. Political anti-Semitism is a 19th century invention. It's about using Jew hatred as a political tool. It doesn't target individual people so much as it targets the idea of the Jewish people as a symbol, a kind of secret key that explains everything wrong with the world. It was the perfect ideology for an anxious population looking for simple answers to very complex problems.
But an ideology is like a seed. It can't grow without the right soil. And Arendt says that soil was a deep, deep crisis that rocked the very foundations of Europe, the decline of the nation-state.
Just picture it. World War I ends, the smoke clears, and the old multi-ethnic empires, Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, Russian, they're just gone. The map of Europe gets completely redrawn. But this created a disaster. Every time a new nation was born, new minorities were trapped inside it. Millions of people suddenly had no country to call their own. And this massive crisis of statelessness revealed a terrifying truth. All those human rights people talked about, turns out they were really rights of the citizen. Without a state to back them up, they were meaningless.
This is one of Arendt's most profound insights. For her, being stateless wasn't just about not having a passport.
It meant losing what she called the right to have rights. It meant you didn't belong to any political community that could protect you. You basically had no place in the world where your voice mattered. You were pushed outside the law, and in a way, outside of humanity itself.
So, you've got this new political weapon on one hand, and this crisis of belonging on the other. How did they feed into each other? Well, Arendt says we actually saw a preview, a kind of dress rehearsal for the 20th century, decades earlier in France, the Dreyfus affair.
So here's the quick rundown. In 1894, a Jewish army captain named Alfred Dreyfus gets framed for treason. A couple of years later, they find the real spy, but the Army High Command covers it up to protect their reputation. The whole thing blew up, tore France in two for more than a decade, until Dreyfus was finally cleared in 1906.
But for Arendt, the spy story itself wasn't the main point. What was crucial was how his opponents used the fact that he was Jewish. Pretty soon, it wasn't about whether he was guilty or innocent. The argument became, simply, he's a Jew, so he must be a traitor. His case became a rallying cry for everyone who hated the French Republic. They used anti-Semitism as a weapon to attack the state itself. And this is where the conspiracy thinking went into overdrive. Suddenly, this wasn't just about one man. It was about a secret Jewish plot to control the government. Anti-Semitism became this key to history, a simple explanation for everything. It turned a legal mistake into a massive, epic battle for the soul of the nation against a hidden enemy.
All of this leads us to Arendt's final and frankly deeply chilling conclusion. It's her warning about the ultimate danger that these forces unleashed on the world.
Arendt realized that the deepest horror revealed by all this wasn't just the loss of life. The true calamity, she wrote, is not that they are deprived of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but that they no longer belong to any community whatsoever. It's the horror of being completely erased from the human story, of having literally no place in the world.
And that brings us to her most chilling insight. The groundwork for what she called radical evil is laid when entire groups of people are made politically homeless, when they are seen as superfluous. Superfluous, it means unnecessary, unneeded, disposable. Once people lose their place in a community, once they lose their legal protections, they can be thrown away. The ultimate danger begins when a system decides that some human beings are simply not necessary. And Arendt's work forces us to look around today and ask a hard question. In our own age of mass migration and deep political division, who is being made to feel superfluous? And what do we need to do to guarantee that right to have rights for every single person?